Cancel culture. Just saying that word aloud makes me shudder. Gone are the days, it seems, where people were free to think, speak, and act. Now, put one toe wrongly, and the cancel culture mob comes for you. And in the last few years, that mob has come for Canada and her history. Toppled statues of former Prime Minister Sir Johnny Macdonald and Egerton Ryerson, renaming Ryerson University to Toronto Metropolitan University in an attempt to cancel Ryerson, and of course, calling Canada a racist and oppressive country, which should be ashamed of its history. This is just a sampling of a culture war and self loathing which we are grappling with. So, is it true? Is Canada's history something in which we should feel pride or shame? What cultural currents are driving what some Canadians see as self loathing? Well, joining me now to share his insights is Mark Milke, president and founder of the Aristotle Foundation for Public Policy and editor of the recently released The 1867 Project: Why Canada Should Be Cherished, Not Cancelled. Welcome, Mark. Thanks so much for joining me today. So please tell our audience, what is the Aristotle Foundation?
Well, when you think about the ancient Greeks used to think about the good life, we need to think about that every day, every year, in every country, every civilization. So 3,000-year-old questions never go away. What kind of leadership should we have? And, what about what you just mentioned, cancel culture, history? How should we think about history? But basically, the Aristotle Foundation started to champion reason, democracy, civilization, or in short, to make people think. A lot of people, some people, I would assert, don't think these days, or think deeply and think through matters. And the approach to Canadian history is one of those examples. So we started the Aristotle Foundation to help make people think.
No, I think that's a great idea. I remember I studied political theory in university, and it's true. Going through the discourse between Plato and Aristotle made you think and apply those concepts into modern day society. You think, oh, how does that apply here? And I do believe that we have seen perhaps more exponentially in the last several years, almost an emotional knee-jerk reaction to issues where we're not sort of cutting through that emotional layer and really delving into the issues themselves. So I take it this probably was the impetus for putting together this book.
It was. So the 1867 project came out of really a desire to look at Canada and its history and some of the attempts to cancel it or perhaps look at it the wrong way is a better way to put it. There's no perfect history. And when people look at Canada, they should think of an oak tree. I mean, how do you get from an acorn to a massive oak tree? I live in Calgary, and if I parked under an oak tree, when my car has been hit by hail, which has happened 3 times, I probably would have been saved by the canopy of the tree. And a country is like that. An oak tree is like that. It's got a massive canopy. And that's what a country is. So when you see a diseased limb, for example, in a tree like an oak tree, or in Canadian history, to give the example of, women didn't have the vote and discrimination against minorities, what do? Well, you prune that diseased branch and it makes the tree stronger. And we did that in Canadian history, or at least, those who came before us did that. They gave women the vote. They restored the vote to Indigenous peoples. That is what you do with a wonderful, marvelous oak tree. It's what you do with Canada. And that's the better way to look at history, not to think it should be perfect, right? Because we're not perfect, but to look at Canada really as a project, which is where the subtitle comes from, or the title comes from, the 1867 project. Think of Canada as an ongoing project, which we're trying to improve, prune, and improve. And that's basically the gist of, kind of why we thought the book was necessary.
So playing along with that analogy, do you feel that Canada, that this oak tree is under attack, that it's being threatened to be cut down?
Well, think about what allows a tree to survive or to thrive, right? So if you think about sunshine, sunshine obviously helps the tree grow. You need that. It can't be dark all the time. Trees need water. They need nutrients. Think of sunshine as free expression. And think of, the wind that comes along to give some resistance to the tree, to build up some resistance. That's a bit like a different opinion. These days, we have people who don't want the sunshine of exposure to their ideas because they may be bad ideas. They just want to be told that, their ideas are correct and not be challenged. So they shut down others. Or so that's they don't want the sunshine, they don't want the resistance. Well, you can't really grow as a country or as an individual or as an oak tree if you don't allow for sunshine and the resistance, wind in that case. So, what the 1867 project tries to do is say, look, let's look at history as it was, not romanticize it, but
Mhm.
understand that some of the reason we are what we are today was built on ideas that came before
Okay, I'm
and
going to
people that
pause you
came
there.
before.
We're going to cut to commercial. We're going to pick this right up in just a few moments.